Tonight he's here to tell us a little bit about the past session in Olympia and also talk to us about the Coalition of Western States. Please join me in welcoming Matt Shea.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So some of you probably heard this joke before, but I always start off with it because I think it's hilarious. So this young man is courting a beautiful young woman. He decides it's finally time to ask for her hand in marriage. So being a good young man, he wants to do it right. So he goes to the young lady's father and walks up to him, trying to be as confident as you can in that situation. If you've ever done that before, you're shaking, right? And he looks him right in the eye and says, "Sir, I want to ask for your daughter's hand in marriage." And the man looks at him, the father, and he says, "Son, I've got just one question for you. You answer this question right, I'll grant you permission." "Well, sir, what is it?" "Well, son, can you take care of a family?" And very confidently and blowing his chest out, the young man looks him right in the eye and says, "Absolutely, I can, sir." "Great," says the father. "There are 7 of us." And that father is now running for president of the United States. His name is Bernie Sanders. And intuitively, we know that's true, right? And we just know it's true. Well, you know, if I was debating Bernie Sanders, the first I would ask one question. That's all I would do. How are you going to pay for that, Bernie? Yeah. Who's going to pay for that? You know, so-called 1% based on their income caps is basically everybody in this room. It's not that 1%. You're talking about 80% of the country. It's just ridiculous, you know, and that's where we're at in America today. You know, have you got the feeling in this election cycle you don't know who's who? You don't know what they really stand for? I mean, you know, one day you've got one cuddling up to, you know, some of the establishment. The other day you got somebody saying that they're, you know, great with transgender bathrooms. And you got another, you know, another smear media site doing something. I mean, it's confusing. And so I want to start off tonight by saying that through all of that, we get caught up in all of this stuff in the news and the media and the spin and who's telling the truth and what's real, what's not. Let's focus on Jesus Christ, how about? Because that is where our hope should be. And I also want to, you know, along that line, I want to recommend a book for you to read. This book blew my doors off. Because I know that I've been trained, you know, in the military to gather information and put, you know, connecting the dots together. And that's a lot of what we're doing. And what I'm going to do today is connect some dots for you. But we don't know that there are actually people in the world with beady little eyes sitting in dark corners that literally plot our destruction, very intentionally. And there's a book called Disinformation by General Mihai Pacepa, the highest ranking KGB general to defect to the United States of America. And he just lays out what the plan is. And you know something? I don't care whether you're reading the Spokesman Review, the Socialist Review, or you're reading the Inslander, or you're watching nightly news, you will see these techniques used by the KGB way back when being used today in our mainstream media. You can identify it right off the bat. So Disinformation by General Mihai Pacepa, and Pacepa is P-A-C-E-P-A for those that are trying to take notes right now. So with all of that going on, you know, I talk to a lot of folks and they're like, we need to survive government right now. That's where we're at. We got to survive government. I mean, government is oppressive. It's terrible. So my question always is who is government?
Used to be us.
Why isn't it anymore? It used to be us. Why isn't it anymore? And that's what I want to tell you how we can reclaim that tonight and give you a plan of what to do. A lot of people look around and they think it's hopeless. They think there's no way we can come back from the brink. Things are too bad. The economy is going down. China is instituting local gold-backed currencies. Don't know if you knew that already, but there's one thing to talk tonight. They're hoarding gold. They know that there's going to be a currency war with the United States. And currency wars usually precede shooting wars, right? There's all of the things going on with North Korea. Literally 2 satellites now in EMP orbit over the United States of America. We know they have that technology. All of these things, how can we possibly? It's really simple. We just need to do what we did at the very beginning, and that is organize locally. And become we the people again. We have to do it. And you know something? All of us are busy. Some of us, you know, you don't have like an hour extra in the day. You don't even have time to watch the boob tube, right? But if we don't take the extra time now, we may not have the opportunity later to help our kids and our grandkids. I mean, 20 years ago, if I told you that a florist was going to be sued for refusing to participate in a same-sex wedding ceremony, you said, that's absolutely never going to happen in America. If I told you that an administration would openly want to talk about either overtly seizing your firearms or doing it through backdoor regulations, you say, that's crazy, that will never happen in America. If I told you 20 years ago that they were going to shut down the mines and the forests, that's never going to happen in America, and yet it is, and has happened in America. That's why organizing locally is what's going to turn this around. So I want to talk a little bit about the last legislative session, then I want to talk about Lavoy Finicum, and then I want to get into some very specific tools that we should be using to fight. So let's talk about this last legislative session. The best part about it for me was overturning 27 of the governor's vetoes. That was fun, okay? But I love, the governor comes out in a press release, he's like, that's what we meant to have happen. I don't know, always, that was the whole plan all the way along, right? For me to get overturned 27 times in 22 minutes, right? Really?
He's got you where he wants you.
Yeah, it's like that old Blazing Saddles movie. The guy's holding the gun in his head. Don't take a step closer. No, you got us. You got us. How ridiculous is this? I mean, these people are totally unashamed. And so what we've been able to do is we've been able just to cut through all of this stuff and just go and build coalitions around issues of principle and walk up to some of the Democrats on their side of the aisle and say, look, I totally disagree with you on everything, and I do agree with you on 2 things. Let's work on those 2 things together. And so our freedom agenda bills, now this is from the radical right-wing extremists, right? Yeah, exactly, right? From the radical right-wing extremists. And we had over 80 Democrat co-sponsors on our bills. How do we do that? It's just because I learned what was important to some of these folks, and I disagree with everything, but I found the 2 things that I did agree with them on. And one of them was a downtown Seattle literal communist. Literal. And he'll talk to you about it. We have interesting conversations about it. I'm going to pay for that. Where's the money come from? You know, why did you guys put up a Lenin statue at Fremont? I mean, come on. They're being torn down in the rest of the world. Here you guys buy one and pull one up. Make any sense? But literally, we found a couple things that we agree on, we work on them, and lo and behold, they get passed. You know, one of those was the legalization of industrial hemp. And while it's not perfect, it is a step in the right direction. And if we get a majority next year, we can fix a lot of the stuff that was passed. We've been working on that for 3 years. We had a bill also that passed into law, governor signed it, and it bans the use of stingray devices without a warrant in Washington State. We're one of the nation's leaders on that. Wow, we can make a lot of things happen. Cross-border traffic with all-terrain vehicles between Idaho and Washington, taking away the regulatory burden. Yes, you heard that right, in Washington State, taking away the regulatory burden. We got it passed. Wow, and that encourages me to see that actually happening in Washington State. But it takes a massive amount of organization. It takes a massive amount of organization. And We need to be ready to fight the crises when they come to our backyard.